Ross Brand here for LivestreamUniverse.com. Welcome to Livestream Stars. This is the show where we feature talented broadcasters and former all-star baseball players who deliver high-quality content across live stream platforms. And Livestream Stars is brought to you by LivestreamUniverse.com. Check us out online at LivestreamUniverse.com. Makes sense, right? So let's bring in our guest right away. We have a terrific guest tonight. Won 20 games 3 times in the majors, was a 4-time All-Star, 288 wins overall. And let's see, Yankees, Dodgers, World Series, pitched in 3 World Series, also played for, let me see if I get it right, Tommy. You also played for Cleveland, Chicago White Sox, Oakland A's, California Angels. Am I missing anybody?
Did you say Oakland A's?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Now, did you play with did you play with Mark McGwire when you were on the A's, or he wasn't there yet?
Well, I was on the A's. Mark was in the minor leagues.
Okay, because there's a quote that's
I'll tell you a quick story. I went
Sure.
down. He was at Modesto. And I forget the first baseman they had, but it's the greatest left-handed hitting first baseman since, I don't know, and they're talking about this guy. I'm pitching at Modesto, and Mark is playing third base.
right.
Mark McGwire is playing third base. So in the first inning or second inning, I'm pitching, and Will Clark, we're playing the Fresno Giants. Will Clark's up there, and he goes, boom, and he drops a bunt down to McGwire.
Right.
And that's cheesy. I
Right.
mean, Mark's learning, and you're up there, and I look at Will at first base, and I said, you want a base hit that bad? And he just laughed. The next time up, I drilled him. And he goes down to first base, and I said, if you want to get on first base that easily to bunt on Mark, I'll hit you every time.
Right.
And our manager was a guy named George Mitterwald, and he told his pitchers, guys, you see that? That's what you got to do. And I just did it because it was not the right thing to do to somebody who's learning how to play a position. Right. And come on, that's sad.
Was Will on like a rehab or something? What was he doing?
Working his way up through the minor leagues, just like Mark.
Oh, he hadn't made it yet. Okay.
No.
I think of him as being older than Mark, but maybe he retired.
They were on the same Olympic team.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, and I heard a story, and I don't know if this is true or not, but you were a patient of Mark's father. He was your dentist.
He was my dentist, yeah.
And so that was kind of when you retired. You said when your dentist kid is playing in the same game, it's time to go, or something like that.
I said when your dentist kid gets 2 home runs off of you, it's time to leave the game.
But, that's a little more dramatic.
But I stayed around for another year after that. But no. Mark's dad was a very good dentist. If you look inside my mouth, and I got to make sure, I got to put this in my will, that when I die, Mark's dad put a bunch of gold in my mouth.
He did.
I had a bunch of fillings, and the fillings back in those days were lead.
Right.
And oh my God, he said, those are the worst, you got to get the lead out of there because they can poison you. And in fact, the play-by-play guy for the Angels, Bob Starr, died of lead poisoning through fillings in his teeth.
Wow.
And Mark's dad said, you got to get those out. Okay, I'll do it. And I don't know, he's probably got $20,000, $30,000 worth of gold in my mouth, but I got to make sure when I die, they go in there and pull those gold out, and then they can make a gold coin and give it to my kids or whatever. I don't know.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about the start of your career. I remember you post surgery, right? So you started before I was aware of baseball, before I was born. And so what I'm wondering is, were you always a sinker ball pitcher from when you first came up, or was that something you developed coming back from the surgery?
No, I threw. In all the years I played baseball, almost 30, I had a fastball, I had a curveball. And it wasn't until I got to the White Sox that the pitching coach there was Ray Berries, taught me how to get on top of the ball and drive it down and make the ball, and get it to sink.
Right.
Then after I hooked up with him in 1965, I was sinker curveball, and that's all I had. And I told people this the other day. I said, do you realize how good I had to be as a pitcher to win 288 games with only 2 pitches? And my fastball was only 85 to 88 miles an hour, 89 maybe on a real good day. Now, I could throw harder, but the balls were straight. So I didn't want to throw straight pitches. Anytime I threw a ball, I wanted the ball to move. And I was just learning my third pitch in 1989. Dave LaPointe was teaching me a changeup.
And his that went way up in the air, right?
Unfortunately, my changeup and my fastball were the same speed, so it didn't work.
You have to have that separation. So now, if you were coming up today, right, and you had a fastball that moved but wasn't 90, would you wouldn't get the pitch, and neither would
the sabermetrics guys, the Friedmans, and those guys that run the ball clubs. They're the Harvard computer geeks. No. It's all about speed. How hard do you throw? I had a kid when I managed the Yankees. He was from Liberty University. His name was Jason Jones.
Right.
And I had the Yankees put a 75 pitch count on my starters because, and this was well thought out, and I told them that, because they didn't know how much they'd been abused in college. And I said, okay, that's good. I'll buy that. But you got to give me pitching up here, because my guys couldn't get into the 4th inning on 75 pitches except Jason Jones. Jason Jones could throw a sinker, could throw a ball away. He had a curveball, he had a little slider, and he had a very, very good changeup. He could pitch every night. He could pitch into the 5th inning, 6th inning, and one game he got 1 out in the 7th inning on 75 pitches. No manager in the league liked him.
Right.
He didn't throw hard. He threw 89, 90. And they said, if I turn him in as a prospect, I'd lose my job. I said, what? I'd lose my job. Well, what do you mean? Well, we want guys that power the ball. No, excuse me. Their ball is electric in the strike zone. I said, okay.
Yeah, I mean, they put a big premium now on do you miss bats or not, right? And of course, if you're going to strike out, that's why guys go 5 innings. They strike out 12 guys, but they're done in 5 innings, right? Because they've used up everything, or because the rule is you get close to 100 pitches, you're coming out.
You're coming out. When I was a pitching coach in the Expo organization, I kept a track of every hitter. If the hitter didn't put the ball in play on the first 2 pitches, you would see every pitch the pitcher had in his arsenal.
Right.
And I asked him, I said, why do you do that? Well, I want them to see different things, different looks. And I said, okay, but the 3rd time up, they've seen all your pitches. You have nothing to throw to get them out. And, I said, why don't you throw fastball? Well, you got to take their eyes off the ball. No, you don't. You don't have to take their eyes off anything. All you got to do is make them hit the ball on the ground, keep it inside the ballpark, and let your outfielders, infielders make plays for you. Right.
It's a totally different approach to pitching. And also, I mean, it would get in a series, right? You and Guidry would often pitch back to back, right? So it was totally different looks for the hitters. First, they're looking for a hard fastball and a hard slider. Then they have to come back the next day when they're on their toes and try and adjust to a sinker ball or, curveball or whatever, or vice versa, right? So it gave you an advantage in a series to be able to have not every pitcher who threw 95 miles an hour down the middle, right? Like, guys had to actually think about what was coming up and and sometimes overthink, right? And that got guys off their game when you guys played series against teams.
Well,
does that make sense?
I'm trying to think when it was, but we had 4 left-handed starters: Gator, myself, Rudy May, and Tommy Underwood.
Right.
We went into Fenway Park, and I went 7 innings, and I won, and I gave up like 3 runs. I pitched the worst game of the 3 starters, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I gave up 3 runs and won the game. And so left-handed pitchers can win in Fenway.
Right.
Left-handed pitchers can win any place if you pitch. And
right,
pitch
right. Welcome, everybody. We're talking with Tommy John, former Major League Baseball player, former All-Star, member of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are heading to the World Series, and we'll get Tommy's thoughts.
Not now. I used to be.
You used to be.
The Dodgers. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm not now, because I'd have to be over there taking batting practice and all that.
You don't want to hit. Otherwise, you could still get the sinker over, right? I mean, you could still.
I couldn't get the sinker up to home plate.
So welcome, Michael Campbell. Welcome, Sarah Weissman. Welcome, everybody. Jeff Adams is here. Cheval, Cheryl, Nick Rishwain. I want to ask you a question, actually. Melissa Reyes, Alberto. I want to ask you a question from Nick. He's actually got a younger brother who's, I believe, has been drafted. Nick, you can pop into the chat a little bit more information. He said he's got a little bro at the beginning of his career. How can he preserve his elbow?
By working, and not by lifting weights, not by doing deadlifts. If he really wanted to save his elbow and get it to where, I would have him Google Dr. Tommy John III. He's in San Diego. He is a chiropractor with a rehabilitation clinic. Have him contact him, and I don't know what Tommy charges for that, but he has kids that he works, high school, college, and all this. He had one kid that got a scholarship to University of Hawaii at Hilo. Okay, Pretty good school. And the first day of practice, they had weights, and this kid never worked on weights. They worked body weights. He could stand on one leg for like 10 minutes and then go to the other leg for 10 minutes. And that's what my son has you do. Support your body weight. You can throw, but your body has to be, it's got to be strong to absorb the force of throwing. And you can't throw all year round. And I threw a ball every day. This was after surgery. Every day that I was out on the baseball field, I threw a baseball off the mound to a catcher at home plate. Now, I didn't pitch, but I threw a ball. I threw a ball. I threw a ball. And I did it the day after I pitched, the 2 days that were my work days in between, the day before I pitched. And I pitched 5 days rest, 4 days rest, 3 days rest. I pitched out of the bullpen. In fact, the last time the Yankees Dodgers played in the World Series was '81. And I pitched, started game 2, went 7 innings, pitched 2 2/3 innings out of the bullpen in game 4, and then came back and started game 6. So, throwing a lot will not hurt your arm if your arm and body are in shape to absorb it.
And so balance and leverage and all that.
Strength. Yeah, you
body
gotta
strength.
Have, my son said, if I had a kid and he came to me and was going to work and wanted to be a ball player, wanted to be a pitcher, the first 2 years we wouldn't throw a baseball. All we would do is work on strength, body flexibility, body this and that. And I'm trying to get Tommy in contact with Sandy Alderson, because whoever's doing the Met pitching, it doesn't know their hind end from third base, because are the strength for that, because you know they've got guys dropping like flies, and it's because they aren't out to how to get their body strong. But I would get in touch with Tommy John III, San Diego, California, and get in touch with him, and he'll put you on the right track.
Yeah, Nick says his brother was drafted in 2016 by the Washington Nationals.
Okay,
Are
good,
you
good.
do you favor the pitch count limits for younger pitchers, pitchers below the age of 25? I know was big with the sabermetric folks, that, you know, before somebody gets this 25 years old, if they throw more innings, I don't know, they studied it, like if you throw X number of innings before 25, you have greater risk of developing arm trouble. Do you buy any of that, or?
No.
Okay. So like the Yankees, for instance, baby Jabba Chamberlain.
It depends. Oh, they screwed him. They should have had a condom. That's how bad it was with him. That's how bad they screwed that kid.
Yeah.
Jabba rules.
Right.
Was he going to be a closer? Was he going to be a starter? Whatever. The kid didn't know what he was going to be. And as a result, it hurt him. And I just saw the other day that he called it quits. I forget where it was, but he bounced around or whatever. But I just think that, you know, what these guys were doing, I know I got into a discussion about this with the Washington Nationals and about Strasburg.
Right.
You know, the year he came back and he's pitching and the Nationals are going to win, and they shut him down. And my thing was, why? Well, we don't want him. He's got 160 innings, and you know, we don't want him to get hurt and all this. And statistics has proven. I said the year after I had my surgery, I think I pitched 209 innings. Oh, but that was back then. What it's, you know, and I said, I tell you why Scott Boras didn't want his guy. Scott Boras wanted to make about 20-30 million in agent fees, so Strasburg can sign 2 or 3 or 4 big contracts. And the other thing, Rizzo had to do what Scott Boras wanted, because Boras controlled about 12 or 13 players on the national team. Think about that.
Right.
If you want to find out where the power of baseball is, follow the money trail. It's the same as anything. Follow the money trail.
Right.
The agents control baseball because they control the money.
And when they control too many players on one team, they have disproportionate power over what happens, right?
Well, yeah, here's how I found out about this. We had a player when I was with the Expos, and I forget, it was infield or outfield, I don't know. But they signed him. Kid was terrible. It's terrible. And I told our head of our farm system, guy named Adam Wogan, I said, Adam, why did we sign this guy? God, there's got to be better guys. Oh, well, his agent has about 8 or 10 good arms that we may want someday. And if we didn't take the kid now, he would pass on us down the road. I said, so you mean to tell me that an agent controls how you? He says, well, yeah. And that's when the manager of our ball club said, TJ, follow the money, buddy. Follow the money.
We got a question here from Michael Campbell about what looks to be a successful way of handling an injury situation, or at least recently it does. He asked, what do you think about the way Tanaka has managed his injury? I mean, he was phenomenal in the playoffs, but he had kind of a really up and down year.
What did he have? I don't even know what the kid had.
I mean, I don't know what honestly,
Tommy John surgery, or
He didn't. I think he was a candidate for some type of arm surgery, and he didn't have it. But I'm not I'm not positive. He took some time off for a while, and then he came back, and he was sort of up and down during the year. But man, was he amazing during the playoffs.
I don't know. Maybe he went back over to Japan and got some Japanese joy juice. I don't know.
Right. So tell us about you came back. You said you threw a lot, right? When you were working your way back. You must have had to do some things differently, right? When you first started pitching again. Nope. So you went back to being the same pitcher that you were before the injury.
Yep. That's the first thing I told our pitching coach, Red Adams, with the Dodgers. I said, Red Dog, when I'm throwing out there, make sure I'm throwing the ball exactly the same way I did before. He pulled out his little notebook and he says, what does it say right here? Keep an eye on TJ. And I said, good, thank you very much. We're on the same page. Thanks, Red. And no, there was the old thing, Dizzy Dean hurt his shoulder or something. No, broke a toe. With a guy hit a line drive in the All-Star game, but broke a toe, came back and altered his pitching. Then he hurt his shoulder and he's gone from baseball. And my dad told me that story when I was a little boy, and I remember that. And no, you want it to be exactly the same. If it's not the same, then you're
Cheval John asks, why do you think managers overmanage during the playoffs?
Sabermetrics.
It's all the book, right?
Well,
they've got their binder, and the binder says this guy hits this guy.
If you manage by the book, the guys up in the office can't fault you. But if you manage by your gut instinct, now you lay yourself open for the second guess.
Right. Now, with guys who throw hard, and if they're inaccurate in their first couple of pitches, you can tell that can you tell right away if a guy who throws hard is going to have trouble locating his fastball, or you can't always tell right away?
Most of them can't locate because do you play golf?
I don't.
Oh, that's a shame. If you try to hit the ball as hard as you can't hit it where you want to.
Right.
Pitching's the same way. If you try and throw it as hard as you can't throw it where you want to. I mean, look at the catchers. The catchers will give a target low and away, boom.
Right.
And the ball will be up and in. Well, the pitcher missed by 4 feet, but it was 98. And now maybe if that was 94, 93, the ball might have been low and away. It's just guys that throw hard, to me, you throw the ball high or low, and in and out has got to be hard for them.
Right. So it's get them to climb the ladder, or get them to swing at something in the dirt after throwing a pitch a little bit above that, right? So
Clayton Kershaw does that about as well as anybody.
Right. Now, do you still follow the Dodgers? Are you a fan of the Dodgers, a fan of the Yankees? Impartial. Keep going. Chicago, Cleveland.
Keep going.
Oakland.
No.
California Angels.
No. Well, I follow Socha.
Okay.
I don't follow baseball. The guys that play baseball now, I don't think they appreciate the game. They don't appreciate what God has given them, which is a great body, a chance to play the greatest game ever, to make 25 million or 10 million or 8 million or whatever.
Right.
And, they're all the time pumping their hearts and pointing and, kissing and all that stuff. Just flip their bat like Puig does. Puig would never play back in my era. Bob Gibson would have thrown the ball right in his neck. And Drysdale and Puig would have been on the same team. But It's just play the game.
Right.
Boom. If you can hit the ball out of the ballpark, I don't care how. That's your job as a hitter, is to hit the ball. Don't give me that fancy damn stuff down there, and I just plus the other things. Games are so long anymore. My God. Oh, it's terrible. Gee whiz. Oh. What, the game the other night was 4 hours and 15 minutes, 9 innings.
Right.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah. It's long. What are you hearing about the Hall of Fame? I believe you have more wins than anyone since 1900 who's not in the Hall of Fame and hasn't been tainted by steroids, i.e., more than anyone except Roger Clemens.
Yeah. They haven't caught me yet. Yeah. That's it's funny. When I was managing in Bridgeport, we had a thing, Memorial Day, honoring the veterans and all that. And there was a congressman named Chris Shays who headed up the PEDs. They had Clemens and all those guys, Will Clark and all that. And I told him, I said, Chris, who did your makeup? God, it was great. You looked outstanding. He said, we didn't have makeup. You didn't? Man, that was great. And I said, I just want to say the thing on Clemens. You guys deposed the wrong guy on Clemens. Well, who should we have deposed? I said, you should have hired me. And he laughed and he said, well, what should we have done? I said, you should have deposed Dan Duquette. Who's he? I said, he was the Boston general manager that didn't offer Clemens a contract. Mm-hmm. And they let him go. Why'd they do that? They felt he lost his fastball. So he goes up to Toronto. I'm not saying Roger didn't, or whatever, but he went up there, hooked up with McNamee, the trainer, and he gained 5-6 miles an hour, 7 miles an hour onto his fastball. Can't be done at his age. Can't be done.
Right.
Shea says, really? Geez, boy, that's nice to know. And I said, who does your research? Well, we have our I said, okay, but you still look good, Chris. Really do.
Yeah. So that did seem like a miracle that a guy Clemens' age went to Toronto and was all of a sudden having the best seasons of his life, and then continued throwing that hard till 45 or 46.
Yeah. And it's and I'm not saying Roger took it or didn't take it or whatever, but I'm just saying as a ball player, you don't gain that at however old he was, 37, 8, or whatever it was. It just doesn't happen. And not saying that you can't pick up a mile or two, but not 5 or 6.
Not after 30, right? No, maybe 1 or 2 or something, but no. Yeah. So if you do get elected to the Hall of Fame and they ask your opinion, do you have a thought on which hat you would wear? Which team?
Choice.
You don't get a choice.
Thanks to Reggie Jackson and Dave Winfield.
And Wade Boggs going in as a Tampa Bay Devil, right?
Well, he doesn't have a choice. The Hall of Fame picks your hat.
Right.
And Reggie and Winfield sold their hats to the Dodgers and San Diego. And so they got paid huge bucks. And the Hall of Fame said, we're not here to promote, that. So I don't have a choice. Whoever. It doesn't make any difference.
It wouldn't make any difference. If they asked your opinion, would you give any input or no? You'd say just throw on.
I think people probably remembered me more as a Yankee because that was the last team, the last 4 years I played. But, the White Sox, I would be perfectly happy with the White Sox because that's where I learned how to pitch. The Dodgers, that's where I pitched exceptionally well, and that's where Tommy John's surgery happened.
Right.
The Dodgers, but it doesn't make any difference. And you know what? If getting into the Hall of Fame made me a 2 or 3 handicap golfer, I'd be politicking the heck out of me. I'd get Bernie Sanders people to go in there and politic for me.
So you're not sitting on the edge of your chair waiting for the phone call.
Nope.
When you look at the way baseball has changed. What else? Is there anything else that you're either happy about or really frustrated with when you look at the game today?
I don't look at the game today.
You don't look at the game?
No, I don't really. They ask. I saw a thing on Facebook. I think the Mets today signed a guy named Mickey Callaway as their manager, and I said, "Who's Mickey Callaway?" I have no idea.
It's news to me.
I have no idea. I don't. I just the game has gotten. You've got non-baseball guys running a game of baseball, telling baseball people how to play the game, and
right.
That's why we've created all this garbage that we have out there now.
What do you attribute for being able to pitch until age 46, and pitch pretty well, like all the way, pretty much up to the end? You came back. It seemed like every year the Yankees called you, a couple months into the season and said, "Uh-oh, we need a starter." And next thing you know, you're like a front of the rotation guy for the Yankees. What do you attribute that to? Clearly, Tommy John surgery doesn't give you a stronger arm or allow you to pitch longer or anything like that. I remember there was always some announcer saying, "Oh, the guy with the bionic arm is coming out," or whatever. But that's not how it works, right?
Well, Tommy John surgery doesn't make you throw harder. All it does is it corrects a flaw.
Mm-hmm.
You have a flaw in your elbow. The surgery corrects that. After that, it's up to you. I consider, if I had to say any one thing, my mom and dad.
Right.
Good genes.
Mm-hmm.
I took care of myself. I ran a lot. I worked out a lot. I didn't drink or whatever. I didn't do that. The biggest evil I did in baseball was play golf in the mornings. And managers, Billy Martin, Gene Mock, I'm going to get you. It's $1,000 fine. I'm going to get you. I said, Gino, you will never get me. Here's why. One, I don't play the fancy private country clubs that you're always in. I don't do it. I play daily fee courses. Secondly, I play early in the morning, and your VO hangover hasn't worn off yet. So I'll be back in the hotel by the time you're up getting that hangover. I used to tick him off. And then I'd come to the ballpark, and I'd have a golf glove sticking out of my pocket and a tee in my ear. And I would just do that just to piss Gene off.
I guess when you're coming off winning 20 games 3 times or whatever, he there's only so far he can go, right? I mean, he needs you.
No, Gene was a genius. He said, There's nothing in baseball I have not seen nor thought of.
Right.
And I looked at him and I said, really? He said, yes. And I said, then you can die right now, can't you? And I turned around and walked away. But Gene was a genius.
Mm-hmm.
But he never won, did he?
He didn't.
You know why? He didn't understand the one thing that makes managers winners. Pitching. Mm-hmm. Pitchers were initiators of action. He said, I could manage a baseball game with a pitching machine. When the ball's put in play, that's when the game starts. That's when you go here and you do this and you do that. He never understood that. And I did a thing on Facebook the other day. I commented on, they were talking about, it's Andy Hassler's birthday. I said, yeah, I remember we're in Milwaukee. We've got a 2-game-to-none lead. All we got to do is win one game. We've got a 3-2 lead. Cecil Cooper is hitting with 2 guys on base. Andy Hassler's warming up in the bullpen. We're waiting for the genius to come out to the mound and give the left-hand signal. He didn't. And Luis Sanchez was on the mound. He threw, boom, Cooper hit a single to left center or double, drove in 2 runs. They're up 4-3, and we lost. And we ended up losing the next day, and he had a chance to win, but he wouldn't bring. And his reasoning is, if I brought Hassler in, I knew he was going to walk guys. Well, that's not the way you think. You bring the guy in because you got a lefty against a lefty.
Right.
But that was the genius, and that's why he never won.
He figured he knew what was going to happen.
He could manage his way out of all that, but you can't. You have to let the players play.
Right. Well, speaking of that, I got to say, growing up as a Yankee fan, the Yankees lost to the Red Sox after being up 3-0 in 2004, so it no longer is as bad a moment for me, but I was a little kid, and I couldn't imagine when you were pinch hit for in the 4th inning of Game 6 against the Dodgers. The Yankees had been up 2-0. They lost 3 games in a row. I believe they had the lead in all 3. They might have even had the lead that night. And I think Bob Lemon panicked, right?
No.
And
No.
And you never criticized. You never criticized him. As I remember, you were like really cool about it and just, hey, he's the manager. He made a decision. He's trying to win.
Here's why he didn't panic. Every day before the game, Steinbrenner would have a coach's manager. They would have, and I knew this because Doug Melvin was our eye in the sky, and he was in on these meetings. And
right.
He said, "You know why he pinch hit for you?" I said, "No." He said, "Because the boss wanted him to get a lead early in the game and then go to the bullpen and win it out of the bullpen." And Lim, being a good soldier that he was, had a chance to get a lead. It was tied 1-1 in the bottom of the 4th. I'd given up my first run in 13 innings in the top of the 4th, and pinch hit for me, and the rest is history. I think we ended up losing like 9-3.
Got fired anyway. Lem got fired anyway, right?
He was going to get fired. He was going to get fired. Yeah. And had Billy Martin not been killed Christmas Day, whatever year that was, Billy would have been another manager. I mean, it's like Billy did stuff for George to fire him. George would fire him, and then Billy would come in and start crying, and George would hire him back, and then they'd do this, and then he'd fire him again. And, it was just, those guys had a love-hate relationship.
What was it like playing for Steinbrenner and all that?
George was okay.
He was okay.
Yeah.
Signed the checks.
He overpaid.
Right. As long as he overpaid, you weren't complaining. Yeah. Those are interesting times. Any players from that era that you're still close with or you still talk to?
No.
Not much.
I see. This is going to sound funny. When I played baseball, when I was in the game, my teammates weren't my friends.
Right.
People from our church were, neighbors were, and all that. But I never have, because there's so much rivalry in the game and all that. I go out and play golf with them and that now and then. But, I saw Rick Rhoden the other night at Tommy Lasorda's 90th birthday party.
Right.
I love Rhoden. What a great guy he is. And, but I saw him, and the next time I see him, I don't know when it'll be, but no, we don't keep. Mattingly and I were friends, both being from Indiana, but I just I see him, and I like the other day in the Walmart. We were going through Walmart, and I saw this guy, and I yelled at him. It was Ron Fairley.
Wow, there's a blast from the
Ron,
past.
and I don't know how long, and we hugged, and talked and both lies and all that stuff. But in fact, Cheryl was there, and she was saying, "Now, who was that?" I said, "Ron Fairley." He says, "Well, he's awfully short, isn't he?" And I said, "Yeah, he was a short, stocky outfielder, but he could hit."
Right.
And he was a good broadcaster. When I was with the Angels, he was broadcasting with the Angels.
Wow. Now, have you been? It's been a while, right? That you've been back for Old Timers Day with the Yankees.
I don't get invited back anymore.
Why not?
I don't go to. I got disinvited to fantasy camps. I have a class action suit going on, and you aren't suing the Yankees. It's the suit is against the insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
But the Yankees take it that I am suing them, so I don't get invited back. And I just ask people this: if I get in the Hall of Fame, and they give me the Yankee hat to wear, will they then invite me back to Old Timers Day? I hope they do, because I want to tell them to take it and stick it.
Wow.
Now, I mean, Tommy John might be the easiest guy in the world to get along with, but I never got invited back to Yankee Old Timers Day. I did when they opened the new Yankee Stadium.
Right.
I got invited for that. And the reason being, the girl that does it, a girl named Debbie Timon, she got mad at me because we had I did a lot of work with ALS.
Right.
And it was 4th of July. It was Lou Gehrig's birthday.
Right.
And so they had a big ALS thing. And ALS asked Debbie if my son Taylor could sing the anthem. And she said, "No, we've got the West Point Glee Club or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
No, they're already booked. So my wife gets on the phone, calls the boss. "What? I'll take care of that." Boom. Never got invited back after that. I was flushed down the toilet.
Wow. Because every year I wonder, like, where's Tommy John and where's Greg Nettles? They were pretty darn big parts of the Yankees from, late 70s to, mid to late 80s. And I never see either one of you.
Yeah, I don't know who he ticked off. But I know I ticked off Debbie Timon.
So now, when I was finally got a chance to pitch when I was in 4th grade, I think, I had been on a team that wasn't too good with a lot of older players. And by the end of the year, they were like, "Okay, let's give this kid a chance to pitch." And I tried to imitate, even though I was a righty, I tried to imitate your motion and sinker ball. And so I'll ask you a question. Sinker ball go with the laces and the thumb on the bottom lace, or was I just thinking that that's what it was supposed to do? I don't think it ever sunk, but
you throw it with two seams, and I threw mine. My thumb was up. If you draw a line down from top to bottom, my thumb was about 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Mine was about 5, where the 5 is,
okay,
or halfway between 4 and 5, and then you that way, and you get the ball and it gets spin that way. And
I don't think I ever really got the spin, but the motion was good. I tried my best to copy your motion, and I think I pitched 3 innings one game and 4 innings the other, and only gave up 1 hit in each. I'd like to say it led to something great, but by 7th grade they had moved the mounds back, and the fastball wasn't all that fast, and I wasn't any taller.
I've been there and done that one.
But I was doing my best Tommy John at that time, trying from the right-handed side to throw a sinker ball. I think it was really just like, whatever was a kid's fastball and a changeup. But
yeah. Oh, well.
I had in my mind the way I had in my mind the way they explained it on TV, and I'm thinking, okay, it's with the laces. I don't know. So
where did you grow up? What's
I grew up in New Jersey in Westfield.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jeff Torborg's hometown.
Yes. Yes.
Barney Tracy's hometown.
I don't know Barney Tracy.
Barney
I remember
Tracy,
seeing Jeff Torborg around town, actually, and then
Barney
he was...
Tracy was a cop, and he solved a case. Oh, it was a big case, and he solved it. He was the cop. We were watching Forensic Files.
Oh, was it the List case?
The List. That's it. The guy
that was like the
family.
famous case. Yeah.
That's it. Barney Tracy. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I just threw that in.
Did you live in New Jersey when you played for the Yankees?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, I lived up in Bergen County.
Right. Yeah.
I lived where the Real Housewives lived my first time through, Franklin Lakes.
They weren't doing reality shows back then.
No.
Talk about, this is a very interesting thing. So you were the valedictorian of your high school class, and you didn't get to give the speech because at that time you had a speech impediment, which I can't detect at all now. So they invited you back 53 years later to finally give the speech. Talk about how you overcame that and got comfortable doing speaking, and then you went on to do radio and TV and all sorts of things.
I did a thing for Dr. Job after he passed away at Dodger Stadium. They had a honor Frank Job Day, and so I gave one of the eulogies. And when we got done, there was a reporter named or a broadcaster was Vin Scully's sidekick,
right.
Guy named Ross Porter.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Tommy, that was so good." He said, "God, that was really good. It came from your heart and all this." He said, "You didn't stutter. What did you do?" And I said, and I stuttered all the way up. In fact, one of our pitchers on the Dodgers bought director's chairs for all the starters. And it had Sut, it had Raul, Doug Rao, had Mess, Andy Messersmith, and mine was TTTTJ.
Oh, that's awful.
Dusty Baker knew who it was that did it, and Dusty wanted to kill him. And I said, "Nah, don't. It's." But the minute I said, "Screw it, I don't care," I quit stuttering.
Wow. I
took no classes, nothing. I had nothing. I just hell with it.
Wow. That's not right that they didn't let you give the speech. You were the valedictorian. You earned the right to give that speech if you...
Well, they let a kid named David Duggar do it. And David Duggar was a thespian. And he had these big bucky beaver front teeth, and he talked with lift like that, and I told the superintendent of schools, he said, "They didn't let you." And I said, "No. He said, if we do that now, we'd be sued." Yeah. I said, "Hey, I knew I was going to play baseball. I wanted to get graduation over. I wanted to get out to the graduation party, see all my friends, say goodbye, and get back and start packing my suitcase."
Right. The other thing from when you played, I don't remember players getting interviewed all that often, right? I mean, now every single game, post game, they go into the locker room and you hear from everybody on the team, the assistant trainer, everybody's got 5 minutes in front of the core of press. But at that time, you read players' comments in the paper if you heard what players had to think about their game. So as a fan, and obviously I was young at the time, but I was totally unaware. I mean, because I don't recall very often seeing any of the players that I rooted for on the Yankees being interviewed. It just wasn't the everyday thing. Like now, after every game, they go into the locker room and you hear from 8 different players.
Well, it's, they would come out and interview you maybe before the game, if there was a big series coming up or whatever, but it was, not that big of a thing.
Right, right.
And now, my God, so and so passed gas last night. Oh, we've got to have his an MRI of his colon. He's probably got some blockage down there, But that's what it is now. It's all about, and that part is better because this is what the Dodgers taught us. Newspaper is free advertisement.
Right.
And if you just and say something to a reporter, the guy can squelch you and the team.
Right.
But if you're good to them and give the quotes they want and this, you get these, especially back then, you get these great write-ups, and they're trying to sell tickets, and that's how you get people out to the games.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much for spending an hour. It's been wonderful talking to you and hearing so many great stories and getting your you've had a remarkable life and career, and it's an honor to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That's
Time
Tom.
flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, that was great. Tommy John, thank you so much.